So the next thing for Trumpet Speak right now is working on the next project that we're gonna have coming up. Right now, I'm completely in the writing stage of it. Finished a first draft maybe a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago. I've been spending some time going back to do some reading and some editing. And I have started to do the rewrite for the project. I think I'm a little bit more than halfway through the rewrite. I will give you the note that it is a short, and so we're going to take the time to really focus in to make sure that it's done properly. We don't want to be in a situation where we're submitting this to film festivals. We're trying to get some exposure to it, and we could have done a better job upon reflection. So we're going to go ahead and do our study. Right now, I'm doing a lot of reading and education as it relates to script writing or screenwriting, because I want to make sure that I do my due diligence to become a better screenwriter. Not to say that I'm horrible or I should never write, but the goal really is to consistently improve. Because in my opinion, if you're not learning, you're not growing, how can you expect for someone to be willing to watch your product? You still have to be good at what you do. You still need to be industry standard in every area in terms of the quality as well as the content itself. And so my goal is to constantly educate myself throughout the process. For Talk Me Off the Ledge, a lot of the education that I took place in was the production side of things and the editing side of things, and surprisingly the marketing side of things. What I live by, and I never really put it into words, but what are you not doing so well that you could do well? And once you remove your deficiencies, what are you doing well that you could do better? And what are you doing better than most that you could be the best at? And those are the types of things that I'm consistently looking at for myself. So for example, I look at Talk Me Off the Ledge and say, okay, these are the things that I could have done better by just looking at the story, since I'm just doing the writing part of things. These are the things I could have done better understanding that. And now that I understand that element, what can I do to apply that here? And the short answer is write, rewrite, rewrite, and rewrite. So that when we are ready to shoot, we know that we've removed the deficiencies out of the script. And we've removed any easy errors that could have been corrected. Obviously, to me, a script is not completed until you are finished editing. You're not finished telling the story until you have finished touching the project through and through. Because when you're on set, things can change. When you're in the editing room, things can change. And so you want to make sure that you are not forgetting that the story isn't complete until you've completed the project from beginning to end. So I took some time out to educate myself, and I'm still educating myself on screenwriting because my goal is to be good, and you can't be good unless you educate yourself. Yes, there are some geniuses that never learned in a formal setting, but they had to take some time to figure out exactly what was important to a viewer, what is the formula that will help to get people to want to follow your story. Now, I'm a firm believer that just because you know the rules doesn't mean you need to follow the rules in this regard, in an artistic sense. But if you don't know what the rules are, how do you know how to break them? And on top of that, from a structural standpoint, you want to make sure that you give certain elements of your story the right amount of attention and time on the screen. My personal downfall is I love building up a first act. I love it. Like, I could spend all day working on the first act, building the universe in which the characters live in, and then create a conflict. But because I'm running out of time on paper, I will abbreviate that story instead of writing out the full length of it and then going back to chop down what needs to be chopped down. And so now that I know that that's my weak point at this point, that's something that I'm working on. I'm thinking about constantly, especially with this new project, how can I add to Act 2? Or how can I make the conflict more pronounced or create more stakes? How can I create an environment where the audience feels like they're diving in and invested into the character? When I think about my education in terms of screenwriting, one of the things I think about is I'm not trying to be, and this is why I struggle with trying to learn the script writing part, trying to learn it, was I didn't want to be in a situation where I felt like my plot or my storyline was just like everybody else's, and and I had something good inside of me already, and now I messed it up. I wanted that, but I realized that the only way you can break rules efficiently is knowing what the rules are to begin with. So those things in mind, I've taken some time to read a couple books or find some research or someone's write up on a book to understand the theory behind screenwriting and the formula behind it. Because at the end of the day, it's like this is probably a good example. It's like if everyone is reading a certain vernacular in an article or on a magazine, and you come with a different vernacular. Maybe your vernacular is better, but everyone's so used to reading a certain way that if you go too far away, it'll just turn people off. You are creating something that in the normal eye is out of form. So let's break that down a little bit and say, all right, let's say that you're like me and you focus a lot on building the world that the characters live in, or you're very good in Act 1. You'll shortly realize that you've spent, let's say, a third or half of your time that you've allotted for your project in terms of screen time in the first act, which is extremely too long because you've created an environment for an audience to be like, what's the point of this? And now they're along for a ride with no destination or no target destination in sight. And it's a waste to an audience. It could be to an audience a waste of time. So you want to make sure that you build that piece of your project the right way. You don't want to be in a situation where you have written something and you've given the improper attention to certain things, and when you get to the editing floor, you realize, oh, I wasted so much time doing this. My thing is, let's build something that can rest in the formula if need be, but also be able to know how to deviate. Now, with that in mind, I'm not saying be so formulaic you can't break some rules, and if there's a page structure, follow it to a T. No, that takes away the creative license. But you should know the flow of which a story should be made in. You know you need a beginning, middle, and end, but you also need to know how big should your middle be, how short should or how long should your end be, what elements you need to make sure you put in your beginning so that everyone will follow along. Those things are important, and it's not because you're not creative or good. So the whole point for me today, or the whole point for me right now, is we're working on script writing for the new project that Trumpet Speaks is going to put out, hopefully by the end of the year. But in that, we are learning how to be better screenwriters, because to me, education is so very important, whether it be formal or informal. You got to learn, you got to grow. There's something that you don't do well that you could do better, or you could do well, and it's something that you do well that you could do better. And there's some things that if you practice and then see where you've fallen short, you can be the best at. And so my hope today, or in this particular moment in time, is let's become a better writer. And as I become a better writer, then let's become a better planner, and have a better understanding of how to make a good story and make life easy on set. Because truth be told, Talking Me Off the Ledge wasn't necessarily the easiest project to shoot, and I could have done a lot more to prepare, and so I don't want to fall into the same traps again. So that being said, as always, thanks for sitting down with me, and I'm looking forward to catching you in the next video.